Today I'm joined by Michela Castellarin, a Montessori expert with over 2 decades of international experience as a lecturer, course developer, tutor, and accreditation officer. She has trained hundreds of teachers worldwide, shaped accreditation standards, and now serves as Montessori director at Bishop Conservatory Junior School in Malta. She is also a founding member of Collaborative Montessori, an organization dedicated to training and consulting with a spirit of unity, and supports projects like Sparkle Malawi, bringing Montessori to disadvantaged communities. At the heart of Michela's work is a deep passion for language, not only as a bridge between cultures, but as a key to thought, imagination, and human identity. And as AI now translates and generates language at astonishing speed, Michela reminds us why learning, speaking, and sharing words remains central to our humanity, our relationships, and our children's potential. Hello, my dear Michela. I'm so happy that you made it. I was looking forward for a long time to be able to have this conversation with you. So welcome on the podcast.
That is so sweet. Thank
and
you,
welcome
Myris.
back to Sarajevo.
Yes, you're lovely, Sarajevo.
So you're here fresh with the energy of Sarajevo, and we'll dive directly into our topics. Montessori,
for sure.
Montessori mom, before Montessori teacher, before Montessori trainer. How did that happen?
Montessori mom before Montessori teacher and trainer. Yes, for sure. Montessori mom, however, in a very natural, very instinctive, very intuitive way, because when my daughters were born, I didn't know anything about Montessori. Despite being Italian, like Montessori, I never knew about her wonderful methodology. I wish I did, of course. That happened much later. That happened later when my daughters were about 5 and 7, because they attended actually an early year setting that was a Montessori initially. And then in the last year of attendance where I volunteered, it became a Montessori setting. And so they kind of promoted me from assistant to, or rather from volunteer to assistant teacher. And then, of course, they said, if you want to be with us, and we want you to be with us, but you need to be trained. So they sent me to what at that time was Montessori Center International, where I started my personal journey about becoming a Montessori teacher and trainer, and maybe a better Montessori mom as well, hopefully.
By that time, you were not in Italy anymore. You were in London.
I was in London, yes, okay. Because originally I am from Italy, from a small rural village in the north of Italy, where things were very different. Educationally and otherwise, than what I experienced in this metropole in London.
It's interesting, actually, because people always take for granted that if you're Italian, first of all, you know all about Montessori, and that the system in Italy, is very, very impregnated by the Montessori philosophy. But that's not the case. That's not the case. It's not the case when you were a child, and it's not the case now either.
And it's not the case now either, sadly. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, how would you compare your experience as a child to now what you've grown into and what you know?
Very, very different. I grew to become a very, very different person from how I grew up in this, in this little village and in this educational system. We all know that our experiences when we are very, very young, especially until 6, but also, in our primary school years, impact so much who we are at that time and who we will become as well. Unfortunately, I had experienced the same educational system that Montessori, although a few decades before, fought so hard to change. And it was an educational system that standardized the education, didn't really put any effort in the individual child. And therefore, with my demeanor, with my character, which was a very, very shy temperament, I became practically invisible in a way. I was invisible to my peers, I was invisible to my teacher, whom I had, by the way, for the whole of the 5 years of elementary schooling. And so it was also the educational system that didn't necessarily ask me for my opinion, for what I thought about even academic studies. I'll give you an example. If we were to analyze a lovely poem from a famous Italian poet, we would have a normal lesson with the teacher reading the poem and explaining to us what the poet meant to say. And then when we had to critique it, we had to study the works, the critique of somebody else on that particular subject, not our own opinion. So I grew up to be a little bit bland as a person, if I may say that. So how that has impacted whom I've become as a teacher is that I always look in my classroom and in the playground for that child who is alone, that child who doesn't necessarily spontaneously talk or say what he likes, what he doesn't like, and so I am a little bit of an advocate for those sort of children.
And as you got to know Montessori, what was the thing that surprised you the most, or sort of at the beginning sort of shook your world? What was it that came out?
Oh, that it existed. I didn't know that there was another method. And finally, when I discovered it, I still remember the day, I still remember the moment. I was sitting with maybe 30, 35 other teachers. I had maybe heard and participated in a couple of philosophy sessions, and it just blew my mind. And it kind of went like, oh, finally, I have found a method, a system that would enable me or any teacher to avoid putting the children through what I had gone through. And that was one of the defining moments. Another defining moment, which happened more or less at the same time, was when I realized that I really wanted to become that mentor, that teacher, that tutor that was inspiring me so much at that particular moment and informing me about this wonderful method.
So you're passionate about language. We've had a lot of discussions about it. You hate that I say that you're an expert in language, because you do not consider yourself an expert in language, but you're passionate about language, and we've had many, many fascinating conversations about all sorts of things related to language. But how would you say that language is central to human development and identity?
I am fascinated about language because even the expert, they say that if there is something that makes us completely unique as a species is language. There are, of course, other animals that communicate, and some of them has got quite a complex system of communication, but verbal language as such belongs only to the human being. And also I am fascinated by the fact that this extremely complex skill that humans have developed through the years is so easily acquired by the little underdeveloped brain of a baby first, and then of a toddler, and then of a child, with an ability that is not replicable afterwards. So we don't have that ability anymore.
And we don't really understand how they acquire it so quickly. We know that they do, and that's it. We can observe it.
We can observe it. We can guess. I mean, we know, of course, about the potentiality. We know more now about the brain development than Montessori did at that time. So also a lot of her findings were, yes, observational, but they were a little intuitive as well. But this little underdeveloped brain, besides having to form itself, besides having to understand everything that is around them, is able to acquire with precision and speed not only one, but two, three, perhaps even four languages at the same time. That is what fascinates me. So it's not just about language, it's also about being multilingual and how children do that with such speed and precision and without any direct teaching. But how language impacts our development, I think, we all know that language is, of course, our main tool for socializing, for socialization. We are social beings. And that is our main tool. Of course, verbal language is part of communication because we all have, we communicate mostly, believe it or not, by the way that we communicate with our bodies and with our facial expressions. So it has an impact on our social development, but it has also an impact on our cognitive development. Studies by Piaget and Vygotsky, they were the first ones who were asking, is language born from thinking, or does thought actually develop through language? So that's another lovely kind of conversation that we might have. But language also impacts our identity. Our identity, when we are little, develops according to how others see us, to how others see what we do and what we look like and what we say or how we say it or we don't say, and how they communicate that to us is via language and via their behavior towards us. So of course it impacts all of our over our lives and also cultural identity as well, because again experts they believe that language is perhaps one of the most important aspects that defines our culture. So it's not necessarily our beliefs or our religion or what we eat, how we dress, but it is language. So everything is kind of not necessarily 100% dependent, but is impacted by language.
And for Montessori, it was much more than a tool of communication in the context of the school and the education. It was a means for the child to imagine, to relate to its culture, to discover other cultures. So for her, it has a central place.
Of course. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm a bit sad, I have to say, about how things are going at the moment in regards to language. Unfortunately, statistics are telling us that the language and communication issues in our younger generation are increasing.
Why are these language and communication issues increasing in our younger generations?
I think that technology hasn't played the most positive part in our lives, unfortunately. I think that we have substituted language with perhaps the written communication. So we do a lot of emailing, we do a lot of texting. We have a lot of language that comes at us, but not as many opportunities to express language and to produce it. So there is a lot of information that we can read. There is a lot of information that we can listen to. In traditional educational systems, teachers very often talk at children. They don't talk with the children. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so we give not enough opportunities to our youngsters to verbally communicate, to have how many of us sit at the dinner table and chat with our children? I think that might be one of the reasons why as well.
It's connected to what I wanted to ask you about, obviously artificial intelligence now that generates and produces sophisticated language easily and quickly and better, sometimes so much so that we find it useful to just rely on it so much. Yes. What would you say is part of human language and the way it develops and the way it emerges and the way it exists that will be irreplaceable and that AI will not be able to replicate? What is it that we should protect?
About our language.
About our language.
It's very true. I think AI can be very, very useful. I myself love to see how AI summarizes very complex and very wide topics and puts words into such a wonderful way that I myself say, oh my gosh, I could not have said it or written it better myself. And so I take what it gives me. Yes, it is also very true that AI can generate new words, but it lacks the emotions, it lacks the creativity, lacks the flair, I think, that we put to language. I think it is important to remember that language is a very dynamic thing. It's a very alive kind of thing. It breathes, it changes constantly. Mm-hmm. For instance, the Global Language Monitor estimated that there is a new word that is born every 98 minutes. Every year there are between 800 to 1,000 new words that are added to the English dictionary. We know that English has become a very powerful language, unfortunately sometimes to the detriment of maybe minor languages. So it's very dynamic. But what makes a new word? What makes a new word? A new word comes alive only when there is a group of people that recognizes that gives it meaning and agrees to actually use it. So AI can generate it, but if it is not from us, that it gives that word significance, and we start using it, it will die. Why language is so dynamic is also because human beings are so dynamic. Why words are created depends on, for instance, our emotion, it depends on our social affairs, it depends on international relationships, it depends on advancements in medicine, in technology, and all of that, it comes from us humans, isn't it? The way that we relate to each other and the way that we want to communicate with each other. And languages, new languages are born as well, according to groups of people.
While you were talking, I'm also thinking about the fact that some people are good with words. Some people are comfortable with words. Some people have very expanded expression with language. It's not my case. You were talking about language being a way to express emotions. I prefer to express emotions by character. I'm more reserved. And so when AI, when ChatGPT came out, it was a wonderful tool for me, because finally I could talk to the GPT and say, this is this in my rough way and in my clumsy way, what I would like to say, and it would draft something that would really feel like something I felt, but I would not be able to put into words so beautifully myself. And so at the beginning it was exciting and it was helpful and it was useful. But a lot of people are doing the same thing. So you realize that all these beautiful texts, you can feel more and more that, these are generated texts, even if they're beautifully written and very sophisticated. You can feel that they're not as humanly generated, because they're just so perfect. No, it's not even about emotions. It's just that they're too perfect. And we're not perfect as human beings. We are awkward, clumsy. We are different. And so I'm really making a conscious effort now when I text, when I do, to not be so efficient and to not be so, perfect, and to think, okay, if I'm going to send something that's me, it might be emotionally clumsy, it might be sometimes a bit blunt, or it might be, not as subtle as I could be if I run it through ChatGPT, but it will be me.
It will be you.
And it will have...
that is what we love,
that's what whether we love it or at least it will be authentic. But I have to make the conscious effort to do it, because it's just so easy and comfortable. We're going to have to make an effort as humans to keep our humanity, keep our imperfection, or what we consider being our imperfection is the richness. Why are so many things generated? Because it's this imperfection that generates all this. It's this research, it's this curiosity, it's this experimentation that generates all this novelty.
Of course. So we don't want, to be all the same. We don't want to speak all the same way, isn't it? Because it is getting to know every little nuance of who we are and how we express each other that is very, very important. And so is for the child.
Exactly.
And I think that the AI can be a tool, can be a friend, can be a challenge, because we might rely on it a little bit too much. One of the principles of the Montessori philosophy is to prepare the child for tomorrow. Is to prepare the child for today, for sure. Is to prepare the child to be functional outside of the setting, but also is to prepare the child for tomorrow. So tomorrow the AI will be there. And so how are we going to enable the child to use it sparingly and use it only when necessary? That is the question.
And to be the owner of it.
Sometimes human beings, as wonderful as we are sometimes a little lazy. And I explain what I mean by that, is the fact that if we can find somebody else to do the work for us, if we can find a little shortcut, we might use it. We will use it. If we can, as adults, not as children, because we know that children, when they grow up, they exert their maximum effort to develop, to learn, to be. As adults, not so much. I think if we can find our best friend to do things for us, we will probably do it. Same, we are already, and I put myself in that category, we are already dependent on technology. If I lose my phone, I lose half of my life, because there's a lot of things in there. And I will not be able to function, as I am when I have it. So we need to be a little careful. We need to be clever.
We need to be we have to force ourselves to be less dependent. I was thinking while you were talking about the fact that my children, who were raised in the same school in an Anglophone environment, all speak a different English.
The 5 of them have a different accent. They speak fluent English. It's one of their mother tongues, but it's a different. Since we're not we're in an English-speaking country, they speak differently. And I would be sad also if my husband suddenly started speaking English with a British accent, because I find the fact that he has his accent behind so very charming and so very unique.
I'm also trying to hold my hands very still, because being Italian, I to speak with my hands, so and I'm doing my best as well.
Well, I'm glad you've not lost the musicality and the little musicality from your Italian, although you speak perfect English.
I love how you call it musicality and not accent. Thank you.
It is absolutely music for me. So recently you created with a group of fellow Montessorians, if you don't want me to call them Montessori experts, but they're definitely Montessorians in heart, in soul, and in experience. So you've created an association called Collaborative Montessori. Can you maybe share a little bit why and what the purpose of this association is, and how you wish to contribute to the Montessori movement?
We were all long-time colleagues in the center where we trained for many, many years, some of us for decades, Montessori Center International. During COVID time, that was no longer. And we felt that it was impossible for us not to continue working together. And so 5 of us decided to create a company where we could continue the Montessori work, but in a quite different way. I think in our name, Collaborative Montessori, the word collaborative is as important as the word Montessori. How this comes into practice is the fact that we collaborate in absolutely everything that we work on, that we decide. We collaborate with parents, we collaborate with schools. There is no competition, certainly within the company, but also we would like to try to spread the non-competitive behavior amongst everybody, because we are all there for the same purpose, which is to work with the children and their family to provide the best possible start to their educational life following the Montessori method. And so I would like everybody to share what they feel Montessori is, what they have learned about Montessori, for schools to share their best practice rather than keeping things to themselves. This is what I would wish for the Montessori world.
It's funny how as humans, I don't know if it's because of the systems we created, of which education is part, but how we always get into this competitive state. It's not the same thing as being ambitious and having drive.
You're right.
And I'm sad to, I often see in our Montessori environment how competitive. Montessori wanted not to protect her name so that it could spread, and how everybody seems to have the right Montessori approach, the only Montessori approach. I mean, we have the same principles. The principles are very, very strong, but then it's beautiful how it can be expressed in so many different ways. So thank you for that. So what do you think the Montessori movement needs today to be able to continue contributing in a positive way?
It needs an open discussion. It needs an open discussion. It also needs open arms. One of the things that I have noticed is, like you were saying, there are not only Montessorians that interpret the Montessori method in a different way, there are training centers as well that interpret the Montessori approach and teach it to their trainees in a different way. But again, we are all here for the same purpose. So how about, opening our arms and our minds to the slight differences and look, how about looking at those differences with curiosity to see whether we can actually embrace and learn from them. We can be united by our core values and our similarities, but let's embrace also the differences. So what does it matter, where the Montessori teacher has been trained? If this is the right nursery, the right setting for them, then let's welcome them. This is what I would wish really that happened,
So you're a teacher, you're a trainer, a teacher trainer. You teach still today. You went back to the classroom, and you've come back to life in a certain way by being with the children. We all do. It's the beauty of what we do. But as an accreditor too, because you also accredit schools, when you walk into a setting, into an environment, what are the qualities that you would notice immediately, or you have, that tell you this place it's a good setting?
So I was fortunate enough to develop this accreditation program when I started with Collaborative Montessori. And again, I think that hopefully this system is a collaborative one, because we really do seek to achieve a full accreditation, we really do seek the collaboration of all stakeholders. So we involve teachers, we involve the parents, we involve the grandparents, we involve anybody who is with the children, even the kitchen staff and the teachers, of course, to contribute to this. So I am more now towards looking for how relationships are developed with the children, whether the materials are actually in the right order. I do give feedback on whether the materials are in the right order, because I think that it is absolutely essential that they are. I look at the environment, I look at every aspect of a Montessori setting, but relationships between teachers, but especially relationships between the teachers and the children, is what I really look for, because I think that I have experienced and understood through the years that yes, it is important that we know exactly how to present a piece of material, but we need to be aware as teachers that what we say to a child, when we say it to the child, and how we say it to the child, what kind of role model we are, it is more important than anything else. And so this is what I look at or look for really when I go into a Montessori setting.
Could you give a very concrete example of you walking into a setting and feeling, there's something special in this place, and what was it that gave you that feeling?
The children. Always the children. The children, as you know, when we go to visit a setting, whatever.
But can you remember something that really happened?
Yes. Examples are the best explanation
real stories.
that one can
Yes.
give, isn't it? The real story. So there was this little boy.
Yes.
I was sitting, and this little boy sat at a table next to me, and he said, are you a mummy? And I said, yes, I am a mummy. I'm not a mummy of a child that is here with you. I am a mummy of big children. Okay, and what are you doing? So I am here to observe, to see how, how happy you are in your school, and I'm here to also play with some of the materials in your school. Sometimes I write things down so that I don't forget. And I said, and what are you doing? And this little boy said, I am playing Snap with cards that I have made with my teachers. Because one day, he said, I was very, very sad. I was crying a lot and I didn't want to be in school. But then I started making this game with my teacher. And then I forgot that I was sad. And now I played with my friends every day. And so then, of course, I went to talk to the teacher that was still there. And she told me about the reason why this little boy was sad that particular day, which, of course, I won't disclose. But it was amazing how she managed at that moment to not only distract the child by making this material, because of course she told me that as they were making the material, she was also entering into a lovely conversation, digging a little bit more into this sad period that the child was going through, learning a little bit more, thinking of other activities or other resources like books that she could actually find. But that moment was the moment that this little boy remembered the act, the gentle and kind act of the teacher of spending time with him, and now that was his favorite thing to do. And seeing also his friends playing with that gave him such a lot of confidence. And so, when children tell me stories like this, then I know.
Then you know.
Then I know.
Thank you for sharing that. That was beautiful. What is universal about Montessori that makes it able to live in so many different places, regardless of the culture and the habits and the beliefs? What is so universal about Montessori?
I'm going to repeat myself here, the child. I think that the times are running very quickly. Things are changing a lot externally, in the environment, in technology. What remains universal and stable is the human nature, is the human tendencies, as we call it in Montessori world. The human tendencies that Montessori observed and discovered 150 years ago, a little bit more, are still alive today. because evolution takes much, much longer than a century to evolve. So essentially, we are still the same. One of the ways that I have that was confirmed in my experience when I was fortunate enough to go and do some work in rural Malawi. I was given the opportunity to go and work in a school that hosted about 100 children, gave at the beginning a little bit of a traditional perhaps education. It gave some medical assistance, and it gave also children nutrition. When I went there, what I find together with my lovely colleague Michelle Wisby, we found classrooms that were very traditional. They were empty in ways of activities and things for the children to do, and also furniture. And so we had children on the floor and teachers that were delivering a lesson. And so here we come and we say, what can we do? What can we do to transform this into a Montessori setting? And so first and foremost, what we did is we started cleaning absolutely everything with the children and the teachers, cleaning the floors, cleaning the windows, and cleaning the walls, everything. Cleaning. When everything was spick and span, we started to introduce, without the children being there, some furniture, and a lot of Montessori activities, especially practical life. And then the children arrived. And when we saw how children responded to that environment that was totally foreign to them, I do believe that it must have been very close to what Montessori saw when the first children arrived in the first children's house in Rome in 1906. How respectful they were of the materials, but how interested they were, how curious they were, how ready for exploration they were, how they used the materials straight away in an orderly manner, categorizing things that they've never seen before. So this mathematical mind came out very, very instinctively. And also how far away from their culture I was, because here I was with some children, and I said to them, so I said to a particular child that was looking at an activity, you can pick it up, and I showed them how to carry the tray and how to walk around with the tray and how to replace it back. And here I see this child picking up the tray, putting the tray on his head, holding it with one hand, walking around the setting with the tray on his head. When he found a place, he put it down, worked with it, and then again picked it up, put it on his head, and then replaced it back on the shelf. And then I thought to myself, well done, Michela, there you go. You remember very well your training, but you didn't consider anything about the culture. Still, all the human tendencies that I have learned about that came alive in the children. So that is what is universal. And with my experience now in a different country, because I have been working with schools and teaching children in Malta, I have perhaps understood that it is very, very important to really know about the different culture. I think Montessori is for sure for every child. It might maybe not be for every adult.
I love that. What qualities must a teacher have to be able to nurture the potential of a child?
I think that a teacher needs to be very trusting.
Mm-hmm. Trusting of what?
Very trusting of two things, of the potential of the child and of the method. Mm-hmm. It is difficult, though, to require that of a teacher who hasn't seen the method really, really working, especially a new teacher. So maybe that is a little too much to ask at the very beginning. I think that trust in the method has to come after a little while, but trusting in the potential of the child. That definitely needs to be there. There is a degree of humbleness in that as well, I believe. But I think perhaps one of the most important qualities is to remain curious, to be curious about the child, to be curious about what will John say to me today? How will he react to this new game that I have made for him or that I have put in the new setting? What joke is he going to crack today? How is he going to react to a new member of the classroom. The curiosity about how children grow up, what they will say, what they will not say, it's one of the most important things, to be so curious and interested about how children develop. That, I think, is perhaps one of the most important things.
The goal of Montessori is the child's independence. And it's for the child to really reveal itself to itself and to the world. And it's to develop its curiosity and its whole potential. So how do you think that contributes to society?
If we have independent human beings, independent adults, independent in the way that they function in society and for themselves, in the way that they think, so independent thinkers. But not only independent, we need to be socially aware as well. We need to have civic responsibility. We have to be able to understand that we have a role within society. We have a responsibility towards the environment, towards our planet. And I think a balance of this responsibility and a social, civic responsibility and independence, it's the right balance for the future. Being independent is important, but also understanding the interrelationships between everybody and everything will perhaps enable us to have a future where people are a little bit more careful about the way that they act and the way that they impact in the world, maybe about the way that they use resources and how much, because we as adults tend to be a little greedy sometimes. So I think that to understand that enough is enough for the survival of everything, living creatures on our planet is very important. So I'd love to have a balance about independence and social responsibility.
And I would add also that a child that is fully developed or is in possession of itself and its skills and its capabilities and its values and its dreams probably is more peaceful. And we could do with more peaceful people in this world.
We could do with more peaceful people in this world, indeed.
So I have a few quick questions, just for fun. So what would be your favorite Montessori material? On the top of your head, you're not allowed to think too long.
I'm not allowed to think too long. I already know.
Okay.
And I worry that all of the teachers that I have contributed to train, all of the teachers that I have examined as was part of their exams as assessors, probably my colleagues as well, will probably fall off their chairs if they hear what my favorite, I don't know even if it is a Montessori. I mean, I absolutely adore.
Okay, I'm holding on. I don't want to fall off my chair.
Yeah, I'm working. I'm working on that. I absolutely love, especially the numeracy material, especially the later materials. You know, the division board, the multiplication with the short bits there, fabulous. What I absolutely love the most is the snack corner. Not for the food, not only for the food,
for the social,
but for everything that happens in there.
Yes.
I am a great believer in an applied curriculum. So we cannot teach anymore just for the sake of teaching. We cannot help the children develop skills just for the sake of developing those skills. The snack area is where so much of those skills come alive, whether it is from practical life, whether it is the language skills, the mathematical skills, and everything comes alive in a very informal manner. And I think that we need to re-evaluate the power of informal situations in our classrooms. So the snack area.
Well, I've seen it so much come alive in my classroom that we have a snack area and we have a tea table. And there's two different things going on there, but it's a world of experience happening there. So I had never thought of it, but it does really. I like that. It makes sense. Okay, favorite book, favorite quote by Montessori.
No favorite book. About books, I will say this. I think that perhaps even as trainers, we are a little bit too focused on the early Montessori books. The heavy textbooks, the Discovery of the Child, the Montessori method, number 1, number 2, the Absorbent Mind, of course, absolutely fantastic. Technical, heavy technical books, very good for structure and foundation, but the later books, The Child in Society, The Development of Human Potential, all those very tiny little books that she developed a little bit with her son as well. Those are the inspirational books that I think we need to read a little bit more. But I have a favorite quote.
Go for it.
Do I remember it now? The child that develops harmoniously and the adult that improves himself by his side. It's a very exciting picture.
Wow, love that one. A teacher or a mentor that was not only inspired you, but was really impacted you greatly in your Montessori journey?
There are many.
Yes.
I am grateful to many. From the teacher, from the mentor that I saw, that taught me and that was inspired to become a teacher's trainer, to the lady that in the Montessori world everybody knows, Barbara Isaacs, they gave me my first job as a Montessori trainer, to incredible women that I have met, Montessorians around the world that have done a huge amount in the Montessori arena, but also a huge amount of wonderful things outside. One of them is sitting right in front of me right now. So very fortunate to have lived the my Montessori experience with all of them. However, the two people that have been most instrumental in my life and have impacted my life, my development, who I am today, have to be and will remain possibly my two daughters. You know I was going there?
Nope. Nope. And I'm absolutely glad you did. Morning, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee. If you had the opportunity to take off for a year and go and work or be in a place, where would that be?
I would say Japan.
Japan.
Although I would want to go everywhere. Possibly I will learn from places that I wouldn't want to go to, because you know how it is with human nature.
Yeah.
But Japan. For perhaps because of the way the society. First of all, I don't know enough about Japan, and that's why I want to go there, about their culture, about how society works. However, although I might have a stereotypical understanding of that, what I know, it intrigues me so much. And one of the most important things for me is the way the society is organized and the way the society works there, the kindness that they have towards each other, the order that they place. One of the things perhaps that is very lovely is to see children bowing when cars stop at the crossing road. But just to be very quick and to summarize maybe, what I mean is, did you know that employees that arrive at their workplace in their company early, they park the furthest away from their entrance to the company, so that the parking spots that are closest to the entrance door will be taken by employees that are late, so that they can get inside there
on time. I have to share with you an article about how a disciple of Froebel, who was a woman and who married a Japanese man a long time ago, and who was courted by him for a year. I think they got married because he was studying at the university in Germany, but that was a long time ago. And she went to Japan and created the first one for about kindergartens now. And their kindergartens are all inspired from what she left, and that's why their kindergartens are actually so progressive and so Montessorian. But when you go into Fröbel Montessori, all of them have our children centered and children led. So I'll send you that article, because there's something very special there. A word that a child taught you.
A word that a child taught me. Maybe not a word that a child taught me, but I think I can identify the word that I love on children's mouth, and that word is but.
Okay.
But as a conjunction.
Yes. But.
Yes, but. The yes, but, to me, it opens up an incredible potential for discussion, for expression, for thinking. You can explain to children and they understand, yes, but he did push me. He did push me in the end, but he pushed you because, so, yes, but.
It means that they're fighting, they're alive, yes. and they're exploring and they're expanding. Yes. One language you would like to learn?
One language that I would like to learn. Oh, my head already hurts thinking about learning a language. I have to say, I don't know about. I wish I could speak the children's language.
Okay. Well, you used to.
I used to.
Uh-huh.
Shall we try and speak the children's language a little bit more?
Okay. The last question. You have to respond quickly, and it's a difficult one. Montessori in 3 words.
Montessori in 3 words. Montessori in 3 words. Love, independence, curiosity.
Thank you, Michela.
Thank you.
I had a lovely time.